Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, and today we have to begin this video with sad news. Community member, former crown winner, top player, Skaar enthusiast Skaar has unfortunately passed. His family let the community know, and word has made its way around. I just want to take a moment to let everyone know that a important member of our community has passed on, and that we will miss him greatly. A very, very kind person. You've seen him on the channel for tons of decks, lots of different Skaar decks, and an absolute ton of top player thoughts. Just rest in peace, Skaar. We'll miss you. In his honor, we're beginning today's video by featuring his deck. His most recent deck, the most powerful deck that he's currently played, is also one of the best decks in the game. He is the creator of the Thanos Skaar deck that you've probably seen around, and if you see a player with 727 at the end of their name, players such as Dexter and Butt have the 727 at the end of their name in honor of Skaar. So this is his list. It's one of the best lists, so you're not playing it just to honor him. You're also going to win a lot of games of Marvel Snap. So this deck needs Skaar, Thanos, Mockingbird, and Strange. If you don't have Cull, you can try Ares, but it's a little awkward. Cull is really, really good with all the stones that Thanos has, and Ares can hit the stones and miss more often than not, but you could try Ares if you just don't have it. Surtur here can be Juggernaut. I remain not totally in love with Surtur in these lists, although he is better in the Thanos versions than others because Thanos does weird things that let you get extra power sometimes. And Sam Wilson can be Surge or kind of any other good 2-drop. Sam, I think, is the single most switchable card in this whole list. So Strange Supreme is really nice in this list. He often gets to 10 power relatively early, especially if there's any locations that help you with a big card for him to eat. As soon as he gets to 10 power, he is going to discount Skaar. He's not going to buff Surtur, but he is going to discount Skaar, which is a very powerful place to be. Having a 2-drop with 10 or more power is often the third 10 or more power card you need to get Skaar down to a 112. Sam Wilson is a 2/6. He's just a powerful card. Nothing special here. He's a good card. Like, general good card stuff. Nothing else really to add. He can help protect you against Clog. He can give you something for Strange Supreme to eat, and so on. From there we have Shadow King. You can tell it's a Skaar list because Skaar always put Shadow King into his Skaar list as a way to steal cubes at the end. This deck puts up the most raw points in the game, so in order to counter it, you sort of either need to play ongoing cards or scale something up. This deck doesn't counter ongoing cards, but if you're trying to scale stuff up, Shadow King answers that problem. Shang-Chi obviously can be a problem for this list, so Cosmo and Armor are in the list in order to protect your stuff. Cosmo, as always, has the offensive capability as well of really messing with opponents' game plans. Surtur scales up pretty big. He's often going to end up 11 to 13 power in this list, but that will often happen at the end of the game after Skaar has been played. So he's really good in the deck because that's just a lot of power for a 3-drop, but he's no longer making Skaar cheaper himself. The Tomb is great here. You can play it on armor in order to protect yourself, but what you really are doing with it is you're making sure you don't clog yourself. Thanos is prone to that, and the Tomb helps. Crossbones really helps you go over the top in key lanes as well. You were already winning a lane. Playing Crossbones means you're winning it by a lot suddenly without real warning. Cull Obsidian is very often going to be the best 4-drop in this list. You have all of Thanos' Infinity Stones that you can play Cull on. Obviously, Strange Supreme can complicate that sometimes, but outside of that, Cull is very big. Mockingbird, when she was 10 power, might have made this the best deck in the game, so thank goodness she's a 6/9 now. As a 6/9, she ends up fairly often a 3 or 4/9. If you don't see Strange Supreme, you can play her as a free 9. If you do see Strange Supreme, you're going to have a little more trouble playing her, and she might get stuck in your hand. That's totally fine. Strange Supreme is strong enough to make that worth it, but Mockingbird is incredible power. Also, keep in mind that if you play her on any location that gives her even 1 power, there are quite a few of those, she can make Skaar cheaper or buff Surtur. Thanos gives you access to the stones, which let you play Strange Supreme, Cull Obsidian, and in addition, Thanos gives you a 6/12 that's always in hand. He has a stone that makes him a 5/12, a stone that lets him be played anywhere, and a stone that means he can't be destroyed, all of which are very, very powerful reasons to run this card. And then, of course, Skaar, with so many 10-drops, is often cheap. You can almost always get Skaar down to a 3/12 in this list, which is obviously a ton of power. You play that at the end of the game with Cosmo, Armor, Shadow King. But when you can get him to a 1/12, and then you can go like Shadow King and Cosmo, Shadow King and Armor, or even Surtur into Skaar and Shadow King, something like that, then you end up just sort of way, way, way ahead of the curve. Surge is a very good shout in this list. I think Surge might end up better than Sam Wilson in the long run here, because getting the Atuma, Crossbones, and Cull Obsidian mean that if you have that extra 3 cost at the end of the game, Skaar can be played, if Skaar is a 1/12, you can play it with a 3 and still play Shadow King, which is just a lot of extra power. So Skada's list will sadly outlive him as a meta presence, as this is one of the better decks in Marvel Snap right now. If you're looking to get infinite, you have access to these cards. This is a nice, straightforward way to do so. If you are already infinite and you really miss those old Skaar Surtur decks, that was your jam, then please play this list in honor of our friend. Turn 1, draw. Turn 2, Strange Supreme is better than draw, is better than Sam, which is generally better than armor. Turn 3, Surtur over earlier plays, and you want a Mockingbird here as you can. Turn 4, you play whatever 4/10 you can, whatever 4/10 makes sense. Turn 5, you would like to play Thanos, generally speaking, over a 4/10. And then turn 6 is Skaar and Shadow King Armor Cosmos, some combination thereof, or Skaar and a 4/10. And then you usually win because you've put up a crazy amount of points while disrupting your opponent and preventing them from killing it with Armor and Cosmo. This list is a genuine beauty. Props to our friend Skada, who was brilliant at figuring out ways to make Skaar work. And just really kind and always available and willing to lend a helping hand. Please hit that sub button if you're willing to. That's it. We're also probably not giving away a season pass this week for reasons that we'll enumerate later, but we are doing a giveaway. Stay tuned till later in the video to talk about that. Excuse me, sorry. All right. Let's talk about the deck I've had the most success with in quite a little while, Burs Affliction Move. This has been my best deck thus far this season. Burs has climbed all the way to rank 16 with it. It's an incredibly strong list. It is sort of, Cougar and Roram had that list where they were running High Evolutionary with Ajax and a bunch of move cards. Burs' idea here was to cut the Evolutionary Abomination and see if you can going all in the move package and let you have enough points. That does weaken it in one way. It's a little like if you don't see Sam Wilson and Hydra Stomper, it can be harder to win with this, but there's still a lot of power here. And again, no one knows what this is right now, so if you're looking to steal cubes in sort of a settled meta, this is an amazing way to do so. Burs is a player who's very often on the top 10 of the leaderboard. I believe he's been in the top 10 3 or 4 different times. The only times he's recently not been in the top 10 are seasons that he's been taking off. He's an Italian player, absolutely stellar. This deck needs Batrock, Sam, Hydra Stomper, and Ajax. Those 4 cards are your requirements. Red Guardian can be Rogue. There were many a game where I just wished Red Guardian was Rogue. I don't feel like it's a huge loss here. Most of what you're trying to get rid of is Luke Cage, although obviously there are other things you don't mind hitting. Also, Red Guardian gives negative power, which is pretty good for Ajax. Laufey can just be Man-Thing. I prefer Laufey, obviously, that's why he's here, but Man-Thing offers much of the same effect. Alright, so Batrock, Sam, and Kraven are a little package of move cards. Sam is probably the most important card in the deck. Yes, more important than Ajax. Yes, more important than Hazmat. Yes, more important than Laufey. So Sam lets all the other things in your deck happen. Buffing Kraven, moving Batrock, making your Hydra Stomper big. So Sam is a very important card. In this list, Sam works in order to make Miles cheaper. He works to buff Kraven, he works to move Batrock, and he works to buff Hydra Stomper. If you don't see Sam, you all but need Silk in order to make Hydra Stomper worth playing. Otherwise, he's not very good. Same thing for Batrock. Without Sam, you sort of need Silk for Batrock. You can be careful about playing both. You're fairly often going to need to. That's totally fine. Batrock is basically a 1/6 to 1/8, sometimes bigger than that in this list. It's just a lot of power for a 1-drop. People will Killmonger him off, so be wary of that, but outside of that, he's just a ton of power that really helps your game plan. Kraven is buffed by Sam, Spider-Man, Silk, Juggernaut, so just a ton of power in Kraven in this list. Again, one of the better cards in that package. From there, we have Spider-Man, which is a card that helps your move cards. It's a card that Batrock will follow. It's a card that can land on Kraven. It's a card that gives Hydra Stomper a plus. 2/4 for so much synergy, makes Miles Morales cheaper. 2/4 for so much synergy is a must-have. Silk is really great in this list. You're going to have to get used to using her if you didn't use her last time she was good, though. Last time she was good being like almost 2 years ago at this point. There was a point where Silk was one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. That point is a long time away. Now she's good because she gives you a lot of extra moves for Hydra Stomper, and she can buff Kraven a reasonable amount. She is going to turn a lot of games into 50-50s. You're going to have to learn to sort of deal with, okay, if Silk lands here, I win. If Silk lands there, I lose. And that's just sort of the way of her. You can usually make sure that like one lane is won no matter what, right? And then if she lands in the other competitive lane, you'll win. And if she doesn't, you'll lose. And you just end up dealing with that with this list. It's fine. You're going to win more often than not just because you have so much power and so much unexpected stuff. Hydra Stomper was like 11 power in the bad games when things were working. He's often like 14 power. That's obviously huge for a 3-drop. Hydra Stomper is stellar here. Hazmat costing 3, I'm convinced that if Hazmat still costs 2, this might be one of the best decks in the game. I think it's still one of the best, but I think it might be the best if Hazmat costs 2. There's not a lot of Luke around right now, and Hazmat is just incredible. Like, I was dropping 20, 21 power Ajaxes left and right in this list. You just sort of play Hazmat around turn 5 with another card, and you should be generally good to go. Juggernaut, when you don't have that Ajax or when he's a free win, just gives you this really cheap way to win games. Batrock will also follow the Juggernauted card, so be wary of that. But a lot of times that card is going to land on Craven. Giving Craven +2 to +4 is a pretty good deal there as well. Red Guardian is your answer card, largely here for Luke Cage, but also gives negative power. Laufey is basically backup Hazmat. I wasn't playing Laufey a ton unless I had, if I had 2/2s on turn 4, I was usually doing that, assuming that I had any of my other move stuff earlier, right? But outside of that, I'm generally playing Laufey on turn 4 as like this extra power if I don't have stuff, or on turn, if I had to play Ajax on turn 5 and I didn't have Hazmat, or now I have like Laufey and Silk or something for turn 6, or Laufey and Spider-Man for turn 6, but I don't have another good play, I'll play him on turn 6. He's big and threatening, but he's not amazing in this list. He's more of a good card than a great one. Miles is a 1/6. We can play him at the end with Ajax, or we can fit him along the curve as we want. And then Ajax is absolutely huge if you play Hazmat. If you can manage to play Hazmat in this list, the meta is currently playing a lot of cards, which is going to leave you a 20+ power Ajax, which, hey, friends, that usually wins lanes. This is rank 16. I've had a ton of success with it. This is currently the deck I'm having most success with in Marvel Snap. Turn 1, we want Batrock. Turn 2, Sam over Craven, which is equal to Silk. You don't actually snap on Sam, but the games where you see Sam Wilson feel so much stronger than the games where you do not see Sam Wilson. He is probably the most important card in this list. Turn 3 is usually Stomper. You just want to get Stomper out. You have to be wary of Enchantress. People are going to try and Enchantress your Sam. They're going to try and Enchantress your Stomper. Do your best to keep those cards in different lanes to make them make tough choices. Sometimes you're just going to play Craven here if you don't have anything else to do and you played Sam. You'll play Silk and then drop Craven on it, or Craven and then drop Silk and Batrock, things like that. Red Guardian is here for Mercury and for Luke Cage. So if the opponent Mercury is you, obviously that's going to be a big problem for your game plan. Red Guardian that away. Again, Rogue does most of the same job. Turn 4, we've got Laufey or a 2/2, just fine. 2/2 is generally the goal, but Laufey is fine. Turn 5, Ajax or the last 2, usually again Silk or Spider-Man and Hazmat. And if I have that plus Ajax and then Miles, or if I have Ajax and then I know I have Hazmat like Juggernaut, I'm snapping. Hazmat Juggernaut, Hazmat Stomper, anything along those lines is crazy, crazy powerful. Again, remember that Stomper is usually like a lane-winning size threat in and of itself. Hazmat is very strong. The hard part here is actually throwing Pryos to get the max use out of Hazmat, but everything else about this sings together. This is Burs' Affliction move. Burs is one of the best players in Marvel Snap, one of the most original deck builders. Doesn't really play net deck stuff, always has a sort of left turn take on meta decks, and they always work really, really well for me, and I think this one is very, very worth trying as such. Next up, we have the Ancient One. The Ancient One is the card that came out this week. This is our last chance review of it, and I think right now we're going to talk about the best Ancient One deck in Marvel Snap, but I also don't think you should get this card. This card desperately needs a buff. Largely, the Tau Mandala needs to be cheaper. I could also see the Ancient One being cheaper and the Tau staying the same. One of the two absolutely needs to change, though, because this card is not good. It is good in this list, however, but it is not good. The list we're going to talk about is Ava's Genius Cook. Ava gets really excited whenever he creates a new deck, where he's like, Glazer, 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 I did it, I figured something out. And so I got that message, and I was so excited, and I played this, and I went like 6-2. I managed to lose 8 to KM Worst, because I forgot Juggernaut was a card, and Juggernaut ruined my life. But I should have just run for 2. But I've just genuinely completely forgot about Juggernaut. Otherwise, I would have. I actually could have played around Juggernaut too, but I'm foolish. So outside of that, this deck is 3 absolute tons of points. It's so many points. It's wild. This is the best the Ancient One has felt. It's copying Joaquin Torres and then making like, if you have like 2 or 3 Joaquin Torres and just drop a Rocket or a Sable, like you just get so many freaking points. It's completely stupid. Or my favorite, you can copy a speed, and having 3 speeds in a lane turns your simple lanes into like 30+ power monster lanes. It is fantastic. If this was remotely affordable, I could see this being one of the top decks and one of the top ways to play Bounce. As is, it's already a deck that's unexpected, that if you're good at Bounce, you can have a lot of success with right now. Bounce's big problem right now, Bounce's big problem right now before we go forward is that it puts up points, but it doesn't put up enough points to beat the top points decks, and it can't really fit tech because it's running a bunch of synergies, right? So what you're trying to do here is say everyone assumes that you can't go over the top with Bounce, but at the end of the game, you drop like a Speed, a Damandala, a bunch of one-drops, and a Hit Monkey, right? And now all of a sudden you've got the speed has to be out. You drop a Damandala on the speed, and then you drop a Hit Monkey and a bunch of free ones, thanks to either Beast or Black Swan, and you've just got this giant monkey. Now you've got like a 30 power lane out of nowhere, which is honestly what top end points decks need to compete right now. When Bounce was really good, it was regularly putting up like 25, 26 points in multiple lanes, which is what the meta used to be. Now top end point decks, the things that don't interact and need more, and this is a good way to get Bounce to that point. Go find Ava at twitch.tv/Avazord. He's Brazilian, so expect some Portuguese, but he's fluent in English, so go ask some questions, check out one of our good friends. Joaquin Torres, Speed, Toxin, and Swan are needed. That is the weirdest combination of cards ever. Sable and Nico can be Hawkeye or Iceman, and Monkey can be Sage. In fact, I'm never quite sure for this type of list if Monkey's actually better than Sage. Monkey is generally more points than Sage, but you can play Sage earlier and bounce her more effectively as a general rule. Alright, your one drops are the hood. If you get multiple demons from the hood, and then you can bounce it once. If you get like 3 demons in a game, you feel so much stronger than otherwise. Generally speaking, you don't want the hood to be on the board. Occasionally you'll take that hood on the board, very often in the monkey lane. Or if you have a throwaway lane, that'll be fine. The reason to play hood at the end is, generally speaking, either you can make it good with Nico, but like what you're generally trying to do is clog board spaces when you play the hood at the end, when you expect like a Juggernaut or something else that's going to really mess with you. Magneto, whatever. Silver Sable here is just consistently 1-4. I know it looks like she says 1-2, but if the opponent plays the card with a -2, she's playing as a 1-4. That's insanely strong. When you can do that multiple times, you can do that with Taurus, you really start to sing. If they choose not to play that card, by the way, you just got a 1-2 that's basically had the Spider-Ham effect, which is also pretty nice. Rocket's almost always a 1-9. You can make it significantly big. You can make like 30 power rockets using Joaquin Torres here, which is completely wild. So using Joaquin Torres and Tau. So Rocket's amazing, probably the best one drop in the list. Nico is your Swiss Army knife. You can do so many things. You can copy your speed. You can copy a monkey that's used. You can copy a bounce card that's already gotten big, or a rocket that's already gotten big. You can blow up your hood and use it to draw, or blow up a whatever, Toxin or Falcon and use it to draw. You can turn a cheaper card or a weaker card into a demon for some extra power. The +2 that becomes +4 or more on Joaquin Torres is extremely strong. You can change the location and win a game that way. Nico is just a must-have for this type of list. She's so powerful. Joaquin Torres makes multiple demons, helps your Silver Sable play as a 1-8 immediately, turns Rocket into a 1-9 immediately, can turn Nico into a 1-8 or make her a 1-6 that gives +4 power to another card, or does yada 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 yada. Joaquin Torres is completely great here. This is about the best he's ever felt to me. The ability to copy him really does make a difference, even if the cost is very awkward. I'm copying speed much more than Joaquin here, but you do need a second target for the Dow to make it worth it. Toxin is bounce card number 1. Toxin is a 2-8, gives you some decent stats. You're perfectly happy to have decent stats, thus Toxin's in the list. Black Swan lets you play the ones for free at the end, especially useful because you often end up with a bunch of extra demons. Black Swan is in many ways the most important card in the list. Falcon gets you your ones back. If you have Black Swan, Falcon and Black Swan are like the ultimate way to make sure you get all your stuff for free at the end of the game. It's super effective. Monkey, because you hopefully have all your stuff, or at least 3 cards free from Beast at the end of the game. Monkey is usually fairly big. If you have 3 cards for free, another 3, and Monkey, you've now played 4 extra cards. That's +8 power. You played a 3-11 on top of all those extra 1-drops that have value. Obviously, you can do far better than that with Black Swan. Speed, meanwhile, is usually I'm trying my best to play a long curve because speed is in this list, and so far that's proven effective. Not like completely random, right? But generally speaking, speed is about a 3-8, and then adding 7 or 8 power to everything else in a lane is an awful lot. So speed is really solid here. When people see it drop, they don't know what the hell is happening, and then if you drop that Damandala, it's just so much more power. Turning like your Nikos and like your demons into speeds is a lot of freaking power. Beast is is early bounce in order to get some combos off if you have Black Swan. If not, it's your turn 5 bounce to make sure you can play cards with Monkey. Also, the 3/5 is just decent stats. People really do sleep on that. Ancient One is also just decent stats at the end of the day. If you don't get the Dao Mandala off, you're fairly often at the end of the game fine just playing an extra 3/5 with a bunch of demons and other stuff. That's okay power. You do want to get that Dao. That Dao does have a lot of extra use, but it's not like a requirement. Also, don't be afraid to Dao a little early in certain situations, and then you can bounce back the Dao cards. They'll keep that new ability just fine. All right, so this is an absolute cook. I didn't like Ava sent this to me, and I was like, no freaking way. I went 6-2, and again, like I should have been, I should be 6-2, but I should be 6-2 at plus way more cubes than I am because that 8 cuber sucked. Ava's also got a killer record with this. This is really, really good and really, really fun. Turn 1, we want Sable over other ones. Turn 2, we want Wantor's? No, that's not his first name. I don't remember his first name. JTF. Torres Falcon. I really don't remember his first name in the movie. Whatever. Over Swan, over ones, over bounce. You do need to make sure you get Swan out by turn 4, though. So if you don't think you can, I would play that over JTF. Turn 3, speed over Ancient One, generally speaking. You can also just play more ones, JTF, etc. Turn 4, Swan and Falcon, or Swan and Toxin. You can also play ones and just bounce if you don't have Swan. Turn 5 is the second bounce, trigger Swan, and play either Ancient One or Speed. That's the reason you sort of want to you often end up having to Ancient One or Speed on turn 5, which is why you really want to save either Toxin or Falcon for that if you can. Turn 6, Monkey, free ones, and a Tau on either Speed or JTF. And then you should win because you suddenly have 30 power. I was able to beat Heart of the Cards in a very, very close game. That showed me this deck really has legs. He had like a 30-something power Vulture, and usually Bounce just can't compete there. But instead, I use Speed and I use the Damandala to end up with like a 35 power lane, because that's just an absolutely wild amount of power, right? Like, you just get so much more out of buffing your speeds in that way. Next, this list is freaking awesome. I don't think you should get the Ancient One for it unless it gets buffed, but if Ancient One does get buffed, this is one to remember. This is one to keep an eye on for most people. If you already got Ancient One, sorry, this card sucks, but at least you get access to this really, really cool deck. Hey, come check out a stream at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. I didn't even think of this with the terrible news, but it's Father's Day, so I'm not going to be streaming today. But I should be streaming tomorrow because the new game mode comes out tomorrow. We will also have 2 videos tomorrow, an extra one that goes over that new game mode. So if you're interested in finding out about High Voltage Overdrive, A, we have an interview with the developer from Friday that you can check out, and B, if you are interested in also checking, we've got we've also got we'll have the best decks from the best players for the new mode coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yeah, that's how days of the week work. All right, our season pass question is, we can't give you a season pass this week because the new shop doesn't have that functionality. There's literally no way for me to give you a season pass. But I do have some PAX codes. PAX is a major gaming event, and you can get an exclusive code that you can't get anywhere else from them. So we've got in terms of pack codes, it comes with a Miles Morales variant that's exclusive, a special border that's exclusive, and a card back that's exclusive. So that's what one pack code will give you. If you'd like to enter to win that, all you got to do is comment on this video. And any video this week will enter you to win that PAX code. Sorry, it's not a season pass. I wish it could be, but things happen. Next up, if you'd like to check out some gameplay today while I'm out, our friend Obehave should be live about 1 p.m. Eastern. Go check him out. In addition, tomorrow, Gregor2424 should also be streaming some Marvel Snap. Finally, I promised a Galactus deck yesterday, and the one that everyone wanted has like a 48% win rate, and like it's just not doing any numbers. Meanwhile, our friend Eggy, Eggy121, who's one of the top players at the first of the Golden Gauntlet events, just generally brilliant Marvel Snap player, another young player who's a prodigy, 15, 16 years old, something along those lines. Eggy sent me this Galactus list. There's another one that runs Iron Man and Tribunal, but that one's not as good, and this one's a little bit better, and I thought that you should play it because you can win with this through Galactus or through just playing really good cards. Very, very cool list. You can find Eggy at twitch.tv/121Eggy. This needs Cannibal, Mercury, Fenris, Galactus, and Luna. Jennifer Kale can be Surge or Psylocke. She is better. Eliath can be Gladiator or Null. Magneto is not terribly important here. He is a nice card because you have so much ramp. Magneto has a bit of extra use in that, like, if you Magneto on turn 5 or turn 4 with Wave, you can often get a clog or help leave your opponent not much space to play, and that has some extra value, right? But he's not terribly important. Jennifer Kale is one of 4 ramp cards in this deck, so this deck really wants to ramp. You might notice it's not running a 4. You know why? Because it really wants to ramp. So Jennifer Kale gives you access to a very early Galactus, but also an early Professor X is very strong, and you're not sad to see Magneto early. So Kale giving access to all those is very strong. When you trigger Kale on turn 3, your opponent has a lot to think about, especially if you did it with Luna or Electro as well. Mercury is here because of Cannonball. Cannonball's obviously incredible with Mercury. Mercury, Cannonball, and Fenris are in like every third deck right now. It feels like the most common thing to run against. Cannonball on top of a Mercury lane kills a thing. Mercury is also decent in making sure that you can Galactus a lane, because she can go somewhere, make sure the opponent cards can't move to wherever you're planning to Galactus. Fenris is here largely for that extra Cannonball, synergy. You don't play it in Galactus games because you can't play in the Galactus lane. Unless you Galactus on 4, I guess you can then Fenris on 5. But that's going to be extraordinarily rare. So Fenris is here for when you go the Cannonball game plan. It's very powerful to basically get their biggest card back for free. Electro is ramp 1, the worst of the ramps, because fairly often later on, you can like turn 6 with Luna or Kale sometimes. You can end up playing Mercury and Cannonball together. Electro prevents that, but otherwise, ramp good. It'll get you into Galactus, right? If you go Kale into Electro, you can then trigger a Galactus on 4. Same thing true of Luna. Luna is far easier to use and has better power in general. Wave is your least favorable option, depending on the matchup. If you know your opponent's running a bunch of low-cost stuff, Wave is perfectly safe. But if not, Wave can sort of backfire, letting your opponent do big stuff. Don't feel like you have to Wave directly into Galactus. You could also Wave into Alioth or Magneto just fine. Once in a while, if you know you're not going to Galactus, getting out that death early is not the worst thing you can do. You do want to use Kale and Electro reasonably often to get a Professor X. If you want a Professor X lane, Mercury and Cannonball can absolutely win you another fairly easily. Really strong stuff. Cannonball is amazing either if you lose Prio after Galactusing, right? Like, let's say you get Galactus off, and then the opponent takes Prio because they played something bigger, but it revealed after Galactus. Cannonball kills that, and then you win the game. There is no other location, cannot be moved, Cannonball kills. If you think it's an ongoing or something else that could give you a problem, then you have Alioth. Assuming Galactus is still winning, that's your Prio kill on top of Galactus. Magneto plays as a clog card and just as keyword big. And then Galactus, Death is often free after Galactus, and Wave makes it affordable when you don't Galactus. Those are the two use cases for Death. There's also just occasionally some locations that really help her, but she's largely here just because, hey, it's nice to have a big thing to play after Galactus, right? And Galactus, of course, is the key to the deck. This is more than anything else a Galactus deck. Again, you can win games by going like, I don't know, let's say Wave into Professor X into Cannonball into Alioth. Like, you can win games that way, but this deck really does want to win Galactus. Galactus is extremely important and extremely cool in this list, and it's got a good win rate. 20 and 10, 66% is nothing to sneeze at high infinite. Turn 1 pass. Turn 2 Kale if you don't have other ramp. If you have other ramp and Galactus, you still play Kale. Fenris or Mercury is otherwise fine. For 3, we want Wave for Galactus, or we can play Luna for generally better than Elektra if we're trying to play Professor X. We really want Galactus or Professor X on turn 4. If not, we're going to like try and Wave into Magneto or Death or something. Turn 4, we got Galactus over Professor X, and like if you get Professor X and it wins a lane, you should snap that. You should probably snap if you're pretty sure you're going to get that Galactus off. And one way to tell if you're going to get that Galactus off is there's locations that people just don't play in, like the put 3 rocks in my deck. You can Galactus on there just fine. You can also, if you don't have them, you're usually going to go 2/2. You're going to go Fenris and Mercury or Kale and Mercury or something like that. Turn 5, still Galactus or Professor X. Sometimes you're going to drop Magneto, especially if you think it can clog. Also, don't forget to play Magneto on turn 3 if you Wave and you don't have much else to do. Turn 6, Cannonball on Mercury or Alioth or with the free Death. You get the combos. Play some big stuff, and you should be able to win a location and thus win the game. Oh, Marvel Snap. Props to Eggy for Galactus. Galactus is almost meta. It's a little worrying how close to like really, really scary the Galactus is right now. Not great yet, but inching closer to a really, really strong state. If Mercury and Cannonball don't exist as this killer combo, I'm curious if Galactus can come back in a big way. I've just begun to think that that might be so. Question of the day is real simple. Oro Tiagitio says, why is Echo blindness a thing, but Cosmo so easy to see? So Cosmo has an animation, and Echo does not. Echo specifically doesn't have a sound or an animation when you play it, because the idea is that she's deaf, right? So like she's like the concept of the card is that you don't see her coming. She's like a ninja and she's deaf, so you can't hear her, and she's not giving you a warning before she attacks. Plus, she's often played so early. And like when she's played early, almost every one drop that's played early, you count its stats, and then once it's done on the board, it's done. Like you don't think of like Iceman's ability happens, and then you're not thinking about Iceman again, right? That's just 2 power. So we have a like habit of looking at things that are 2 power and just going, oh, that's 2 power, and sort of mentally moving on and not thinking about them too much. Meanwhile, Cosmo sits there affecting both players. It's bigger, it's played later, so it's more a part of your heuristics. It's more a part of how you think about the game and think about the board. People still occasionally make Cosmo mistakes. I know I have in the past, not often, but it happens. While Echo is a constant mistake, just because it happens so late. And late game, you sort of suffer from information overload. There's so many things to think about that thinking all the way back to turn 1 and remembering that one card in that one specific spot is often very, very difficult. Turn to your support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. If you're interested in checking it out, please do so. Check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. First of all, happy Father's Day to anyone in this group who that would fit. I honestly do not know who has kids, so I'm not going to go through one by one, but happy Father's Day, my dear friends. Bricks to Click is our patron of the month, and we really have to get that Patreon cerebration going. Thank you to Abigail Gieson, Mandatory Burnout, It Regardless, Always Kind, LAB, Inc., the Graphite Fan. I am Frostman, who is streaming again soon, baby. Hota Navarrete, Prime Ryan of the Prime Mind app, Ryan Burke, Berkey, Ryan Woodsnap, check it out on YouTube, Ryan Wrench, Karatixley, the King Questions, Koirei, the King of Rudeness, Kazushi, our great friend, Crushing on Ladder, and thank you for the Prime earlier, Archangel 3K, that's 4Ks in a row, baby. We got Black Dahlia, Rofros, the Goat Taker, Goatsy, and Code, that is our Alliance Leader group. Hallowed, Only Fox, Synth, how you doing, Synth? Fat Nick, Absolute Shannon. Sorry, I'm dying today. Nightmare, that's really, really poor timing. Please excuse me. I have heartburn. Absolute Shannon, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philly, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kitty Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Bizza, Black Cubus 23, Extras V and Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, Mr. Slush Death, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, KFC Hoda, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Silverman, David G. Wingfield, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan Martin, Jason B, Mr. Craig Sterry, special guest Matt V, also joined by Corey, Real Name Town, Corwin, John Q, and Jim McHugh, Q Town, Yes Stout, A Sage, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, Cactus Jack, Three Faces of Foley, Reapster, BG, Yo Marco, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, DeCarlo 220, Models Monster Supreme, Make It a Boom Bop, Green Goblin, Unibot, version 2, check him out on YouTube, Flan 56, The Fuzzy Naut, Spectrumix, Ocularis, thank you for hanging Ocu, Matt H, DJ, Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, Toxie, Toxic Soul King, Zodrix74, the King of Canada, JJ. Oh, Toxie was on stream with me for all, so if you want to see that, check the VOD of yesterday's stream over on Twitch. King of Canada, JJ. Den Man Falcon, Newman, it's Fafler Newman, who's back streaming, missed him. Jonesy Snapped, The Great Two Ties, our friend Lauren, the Pirate King Tucker, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for, this one's dedicated to you, Scotta. Hopefully, you're happy with it. See you tomorrow for another Snap Take, 2 videos, new game mode, so on. Peace.